Hey guys, how is everybody doing today? Man, it's been a little over 2 weeks since I uploaded the zombie video for you guys. Today we have Virtual World. I took this to locals today for the first time. I played it like against real players, as opposed to playing it online and doing a bit of testing. Man, this deck is it's pretty fun and it's pretty good. I can't give. I mean, from first impressions, I gotta say that I'm really enjoying the deck, and I feel that it is very powerful. It has access to so many different kinds of like extra deck monsters that deal with different situations, whether it's removal, negation. So it's really, really good. It's just an amazing toolbox deck. I love toolbox decks. And it did very well today. I technically, went undefeated. Um, I actually, so it was weird today. I'm not sure what kind of system my locals uses to determine like pairings and stuff like that. But after I won my first round, I got a bye, and it was only 3 rounds. So it was, I technically got to play 2 rounds in the tournament, but I did play my friend prior to the tournament beginning because I wanted to play as many games as I could and just test it out before the tournament actually started. And he was playing Dogmatica Invoked, so that was actually a good matchup. A good. It was a deck that I wanted to test up against because it's one of the top decks. And he, I won the match against him, but I feel like not many people know what the deck does, so they're not sure what to stop. But even if they did know what to stop, this deck just has really good follow up plays. Like it has monsters that can float, it has great removal, it has great extenders, starters. So yeah, enough rambling. So let's go into the main deck. Uh, so for the threes, we have Lulu and we have Gigi. I can't tell you how much I dislike the names. It's like so. I'm just, oh my god, like what? Just Lulu, Gigi, Nian Nian. Like I'm not sure what the theme was to have them like just repeat the same word twice, but it's whatever. Yeah. So from Datascape to Virtual World, I mean, yeah, I think Datascape rolls off the tongue better. I wish they just kept it to Datascape. Uh, Virtual World is more like of a tongue twister, but it's whatever. So anyway, Lulu's really good. She's a Rhoda, and then Gigi is. I love cards that have like these different utility effects where like you have the. I mean, I think every deck should have some sort of Rhoda. So I'm glad that Lulu is a Rhoda as well as one of the spells that I'll show you later. And then Gigi's really nice because he gets you a virtual world monster back from your grave during the end phase. It's just something that you can miss, unfortunately, because like later on in your turn, you might have just like forgot it. I haven't forgotten it today, which is great because that could actually. It is actually very, very useful for your following turn to have a follow up play. So it's very important in that aspect. So try your best not to forget that. And then Nian Nian is your summon from the grave. She special summons herself back, and then when she leaves the field, she gets banished. But when she's banished, she actually shuffles back any of your banished cards. That includes cards that you banish from desires, which is extremely useful because sometimes like you banish like key cards like from desires, which sucks. Everybody knows that feeling sucks. So this deck actually has a way to shuffle back, one of those banished cards from desires back into the deck. And what's great is that like you can do that multiple times, right? So like turn one, you use it, and then once your following turn comes again, if you have another Nian Nian, you could just use it again, banish one of the, shuffle one of those other banished cards back into the deck. So I really like that. I like that it has that utility. So one thing that I did forget to mention is that all the virtual world monsters, with the exception of Nian Nian, have the same special summoning effect where they have to target a face-up virtual world card, and then send a card of a different type that they targeted to the graveyard. So with GG, for example, if I target Nyan, I can either send a virtual world spell or a virtual world trap. Um, and then vice versa. If I target a spell, I can send a trap or a monster. And they all do that. These two, and then the other two that I'll show you later. So another really cool thing is that these are wind, and they're level threes. So it makes it easier for you to go into. You have a rank 3 toolbox. But Totem Bird is actually really really good because it negates spells and traps. So because these are two, they're level threes and they're wind, it makes it easier for you to go into that card, which I really like. And Nyan has also a cool effect where like after she's special summoned, she's treated as a tuner, which is nice. So if you needed access to a tuner you special summon her either by her own effect or by Lao Lao, which I'll show you next. It's nice that she's treated as a tuner. So that's it for your level 3 virtual world monsters. Now we're going to go over the sixes. We have two sixes. We have Lao Lao and we have Lily. So Lao Lao is really good because it's a level 6 tuner that, it has obviously the same effect as every other virtual world where it can target a face-up VW card. Right? Is it weird that I call it VW? I feel like it's just better. If you target a VW card, then you can send another VW card of the opposite or a different typing. So they all have that effect. So the secondary effect is that on resolution, it special summons a VW monster from your grave, which is nice. So what's nice is that all of these, including like the other, including Lulu and Gigi, all these cards activate and they resolve in hand. So it's not like they can get impermed. I mean, they can get impermed, but it won't really do anything. So like if you activate Lao Lao to target like one of your face-up VW cards, and then if they let it go through on resolution, you'll special summon a VW monster from your graveyard. So it's really nice that they all activate and resolve in hand. And then Lily is your double foolish. So if you target a VW spell, for example, then you can foolish a VW trap and on resolution foolish a monster, or vice versa. It doesn't really matter how you order it. It's a double foolish, which is really nice because it could set up your grave very nicely with whatever you need. And then level 6 is really nice because you could go into like your rank 6. And what's cool is that once we get into the trap, it can actually manipulate the levels. So, if you needed to go into a level, for example, like if he's a level 6, you could make him a level 3 and then go into a level 9 synchro that way. For the hand traps, we have 3 Ash and 3 Ogre. So what's cool about having Ash and Ogre... man, I dropped my ulti. It's fine. What's cool about Ash and Ogre is that, first of all, they're level 3s and they're tuners. So there is like natural synergy actually in the deck because them being level 3s, if you ever really really needed to like normal summon an Ash Blossom, you could actually make some plays because again, Nyan, when you normal or special summon a level 3, she special summons herself from the graveyard. So you could normal summon an Ogre, you can normal summon an Ash, and if you have her in the grave, she'll special summon herself, and then you could just go into a rank 3 play. So I thought these were really good hand trap. Ash, I just love. It's just a very good, all well-rounded hand trap that's good against everything. Like it's really, there's not a matchup I can think of where Ash doesn't shine. Ogre is not as impactful, but against certain matchups it is. I feel like I chose Ogre because Ogre is good against both control and combo decks. Combo decks like hitting any of their combo pieces when they're trying to like link up or anything like that can be very brutal because they depend on those materials to stay on field. And then even against control, when they have like face up spells and traps that have once per turn effects that you can ogre, it's really nice. It's nice to have that versatility, and then plus ogre is a psychic as well, and we do run e-telly, because we can special summon Yan Yan or Lulu out of the deck. So it's nice that we have the option of summoning ogre as well. That is it for the monster hand traps. Now, next we're going to get into the spells. We have virtual VW, uh, Kualoon, and then VW Virtual World Gate, Qinglong. So these are the virtual world spells, the VW spells. Um, this is this is actually one of your best starters. Unfortunately, it can get ashed because it includes the effect to send the top three cards of your deck to the graveyard. So unfortunately, it can be ashed, which is unfortunate because it is one of our really strong, not starters, but enablers. It enables us to place the trap directly from the deck onto the field, and then our VW monsters can begin to target the trap to send Qinglong to the grave, so that way we get our searches. But anyway, it's you can place one virtual world gate card from your deck face up in your spell and trap zone. Then you can apply the following effects in sequence based on the number of virtual world cards you control. So I'm gonna let you know now. These don't really come up that often, they did come up for me today, honestly. So the if you have two or more, so on resolution, right? If you activate this card, and for example, you activate Qinglong, right? But this is just to give you an example. Prior to you activating this, you already had one. You already had two face up. Okay, for example, so you say you have two face up, activate, and then now you have these. Well, if you have two or more, so these are have to activate in sequence, so you can't just choose one to activate. Like for example, if you want to activate the one that says 4, you have to have you have to activate the first and second one before the fourth one resolves, if that makes sense. So this says you can apply the following effects in sequence based on the number of virtual world gate cards you control. This doesn't count as a virtual world gate, so it wouldn't count itself, but you would have 3, for example. So in this scenario, you'd have 3. So you could, all virtual world monsters this turn gain 200 attack, and then send the top 3 cards of your deck to the graveyard. And then if you happen to have 4, which rarely ever happens, I don't think it really ever happens, but you could special summon up to 4 VW monsters with different names from your extra deck. So it's really nice that you're able to do that. Yeah, so it's just really good. It's really good because we could activate the trap. Actually, I'll just show the trap right now. So the trap is really good because you can shuffle 2 of your banished virtual world cards back into the deck. You target a card first, and then you shuffle the 2 back, and then you pop that card. And then in the graveyard, you can banish it, and then you can target a VW monster, either decrease its levels by 3 or increase its levels by 3. That way you have that manipulation to go into rank 9s easier, or your rank 6. So what's nice is that instead of like setting this and then activating it, this allows us to play through that, around that. So we can activate this and just set this from the deck, which is really nice. So that's the trap. Now this card right here, this card's actually pretty cool because on the field, you can banish a virtual world card, which is really nice, and then you can target one face-up monster on the field and negate its effects. What's cool is that sometimes to make this live, sometimes you'll actually just banish a virtual world card to target one of your monsters and negate their effects, which isn't really like relevant. You could do that like right before you end your turn, which it doesn't matter because it negates it until the end of the turn, and then like you'll make this live, so you could shuffle 2 of your banish back to pop a card. But it's really cool because going second, you can activate it, and then you could bait like negates out because you could banish a virtual world card, target a card they control, negate it like an Appaloosa or anything like that, which is really nice. But its more important effect that we always use is we banish it from grave to add a virtual world monster, and then we send any card after we add that virtual world monster. And then we do play two Foolish Goods, so that way we could Foolish Goods this. So just another way to get this in the grave, so that way it's our Rhoda. So we have 6 Rhodas. We have this and Lulu. And again, guys, what's really nice is that all the virtual world monsters, with the exception of Nian Nian, can send this to the graveyard. If they target a trap, you could send this. If they target a monster, they can send this, which is really nice because then we'll be able to like search our Lulu or Lao Lao, whatever you guys need during the game. Let's move on. For the more like generic stuff, we have 2 tactics, 2 desires. These are for our 2 ofs in addition to the 2 foolish goods. Again, the 2 foolish goods just serve as a rota because we do send the we could send the trap as well if we want to manipulate the levels, but we send Qinglong so that way we can banish Qinglong and add a virtual world monster and then discard a card or send a card. So that's nice. And then tactics, I like tactics because it's a card that's good going first, good going second. It's if you're, obviously everybody knows what this card should do by now, but if you don't, if your opponent activates a monster effect during the main phase, you can activate one of these effects. You could draw 2 cards. You can spin one of their cards. You could look at their hand and spin a card back to their deck, or you can take control of a monster. So going second, it can take control of your opponent's monsters. It can going first. It can draw you cards. If you have all the cards you need in your hand, you can rip a card out of your opponent's hand, which is really nice. And then we play 2 desires because we play 3 of everything besides the trap, but we play 3 of everything. So if we at least have 1 copy of each virtual world monster, we can play. And again, Nian Nian could shuffle back those banish cards that we banished from desires, which is really nice. And then Tactics just does a good job to allow us to push, just push through those negates, push through those hand traps. And then we have 2 one-ofs. We have Call by the Grave, and then we have Italy. Your normal summon is pretty important because you want to have a face-up. It's not your normal summon per se. It's having a face-up virtual world monster or card for your other monsters in hand to target to get their effects into special summon. So like if we say we have a bunch of virtual world monsters in our hands, like say we have Lao Lao and Lily, and then we need access to a face up, we can activate Italy, summon Nian Nian, and now because we summon Nian Nian, these 2 cards are live because we're gonna target Nian Nian, and then I feel so ridiculous. I sound so ridiculous saying these damn names, but yeah. So now these are live, and then we could target this card, send send our Qinglong to get searches, send the trap to manipulate our levels, and then get these effects, get the double foolish, get the special summon, which is really nice. So that's why Italy is pretty strong, and then Italy could also get us Ogre and Lulu, both are tuners if we needed the tuners. We play the Call by the Grave because Call by the Grave is still very powerful. It's still worth playing even at 1. Stopping an Ash Blossom is really good. Actually, Ash Blossom is probably the most important hand trap to stop because again, everything activates and resolves in hand. So Valor doesn't really do much. Imperm doesn't really do much. And then just for like other cards, like say like against Prank Kids, this is really good. And Prank Kids is a much better deck now that Meow Meow is out. I feel like these should have been pranks like Meow Meow, Lily. Those all match. And then lastly, for the last 3 cards, we run 3 Imperm for a total of 9 hand traps, which is really good. I feel like that's a good ratio. I feel like your deck should at least be able to play 6. Unfortunately, I feel like 9 might be the more optimal amount of hand traps that people should be playing just to counter against like so many decks that are playing in the format right now. Uh, just like it's so sad, but like running only 6 hand traps in your deck sometimes can't be enough, which is it's unfortunate, but that's the way the format is. And then let's go over the extra deck. I hope I did a good job explaining so far. For the nines, we have Shen Shen. Shen Shen is your Macrocosmos. If any card gets sent only from the field to the grave, it gets banished. And then, except during the turn it went to the grave, you can banish 2 monsters with different types and attributes and special summon this. So I love that it keeps coming back, even if your opponent like gets rid of it. It's and then again like it's just really nice that it's a level 9 as well. It makes it easier to go into VFD. So then we're gonna move on to our Crocodragon. I run this because it's just another way to like dig for just more stuff in your deck. Just getting the draws is really nice because sometimes you'll make Stardust Charge Warrior, get a draw, or Coral Dragon, and then Coral Dragon with another 3. You can make Croc, and then that's pretty much a pot of greed. You're gonna draw 2 cards. And then Croc is just really against the level 9. Sometimes we have enough resources to be able to go into this and then have another level 9 and then overlay for VFD after we've drawn cards. It also has a really neat quick effect where you could discard 2, target a card on the field, pop it. He doesn't stay on the field long enough for that to happen, but it's nice that it's there. And he has like a weird attack boost that he gains 500 for each card in your hand. For the other level 9s, we have 1 Vermilion. I'm definitely a fan of this card because you can banish any tuner from your graveyard as well. So it says you can banish 1 tuner from your hand, field, or graveyard. And then target a card on the field, pop it. It can be back row. It can be anything, monster, spell, trap. And then what's nice is that it floats. So like if your opponent like gets rid of it, destroys it, it can target one of your banished tuners and add it back to your hand, so it has that recursion. And then we have Cloud Castle. Cloud Castle is one of the ways that it makes it easier for us to get into VFD. Also, sometimes like if we have Lao in the hand and we get Nibiru'd, if we activate and resolve Lao, we'll special summon a level 3 from the graveyard, go into Cloud Castle, and then revive one of the level 9s, hopefully Shen Shen, that we summoned previously in the turn, and then we can make a Calamities through a Nibiru, which is really nice. And then for the last level 9, I run the Crystron Quarion Gondrax. I hope I pronounced that right. So this card's really cool. I chose this over Trish because I felt like this card actually comes up a bit more than Trish because Nian Yan becomes a tuner and she's a level 3 when she gets special summoned from the grave. And then in addition to that, we have 2 other tuners, Lulu and Lao. So we actually have more tuners than non-tuners. And that's the reason that I chose this card over Trishula. What's really cool also is that when Nian Yan leaves the field, as I mentioned before, she gets banished. So what'll happen, or what you can do, is, and also we have the level manipulation. So if you have this, and she's special summoned by her own effect, and then with Lao, you'll typically summon a non-tuner, which will be Gigi. Okay, so you'll have these 3 cards on the field, Lao, Gigi, and Nian Yan. And what's cool is that the trap manipulates your level. So you're going to banish the trap, target Lao, make it a level 3. Now you have 2 level 3 tuners and 1 non-tuner. And then you synchro all of these off. And then this gets banished. And what's cool about this getting banished is that this Nian Yan actually allows us to chain block the Quarion. So Quarion Chainlink 1, Nian Yan Chainlink 2 to shuffle back a banished card into the deck. And then for those of you that don't know what this card does, if this card is synchro summon, you can target monsters your opponent controls and or in their graveyard up to the number of synchro materials used for the synchro summon of this card, banish them. So we used 3 materials because, we used these 3. So we're going to banish 3 monsters. So if they have a board full of monsters and we chain block this card, there's very few instances where they can stop this. They'd have to have like an imperm or something like Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss that specifically can target this. So it's really cool that we can chain block with Nyanyan. Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. If they respond like with a card with a negation, like a card that negates the activation of an effect, they would have to directly respond to Nyanyan. And so this would resolve to banish 3 monsters. It's a 3k beater. It also floats. Again, like some of these level 9s, they won't really stay on the field long enough to float, but it says if this synchro summon monster is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target 1 banished monster, special summon it. So any one of your banished monsters, you can special summon, which is really cool. Just another option for you guys to play. I feel like a lot of these are pretty necessary. I feel like these are the more important ones. Vermilion, just to have access to that removal easily, because it's a very easy generic level 9 to summon. I like Croc for the utility of just like drawing cards before I overlay into Calamities. And then this probably comes up the least, only because there's so many cards that you have that have that removal effect. But again, it's just so strong that it's 3k and it banishes 3 monsters. It can clear boards by itself. So let's go over the 6s. We have I don't know what the heck. How do you pronounce this? Giu. Yeah, it sounds more ridiculous every time. So one of this level 6. And the reason that we run this is because it's a really cool way to remove cards on your opponent's field. I like cards that can remove spells and traps as well as monsters, and this is one of them. It's a level 6. It's fairly easy to get into. It's actually really easy to get into. So it says that it cannot actually be destroyed by battle or card effects if you control 2 monsters with the same type and attribute in your grave, which is very easy in this deck. So it has that protection from battle and card effects. And then you can banish 2 monsters with the same type and attribute but different names. You could banish those 2 and then target a card on the field, send it to the graveyard. So it's that non-destruction removal, which is really nice. And then what's nice is that, say like you make this and then you have a level 6 on the field. So you banish 2, target a card on the field, send it, and then you can overlay into, I'm skipping ahead here, but I really want to show you guys. You could go into Fan, and then Fan says that you could detach 2, target a card on the field and a card in either graveyard, and banish those targets. So not only can you send a card, and then if you have access to a level 6, you can immediately overlay, detach the 2, and then just like remove even more threats off the field. So I think that's pretty dope. I'll explain more about this card when we get to it. So this card, and then we run Coral Dragon, and then lastly for the level 6s, we run Stardust Charge Warrior. So Coral Dragon and Stardust Charge Warrior, they both give you the draws. Coral Dragon is actually pretty nice because you can discard a card, target a card on the field, pop it. So again, even more removal with your synchros. With the difference in the draws is that this on summon gets the draw, and then when this leaves the field, it gets the draw. But this, if you use this level 6 as an Xyz material, unfortunately it won't get the draw. But we mostly use it for synchro material. So I like the utility of having both of these in the extra deck because this is a non-tuner and this is a tuner. So sometimes if we want to get the draw and we want to get the pop and we need a tuner, then Coral Dragon is our synchro of choice, and then Stardust Charge Warrior is just a level 6 that gets us a draw and summon. Its second effect doesn't come up at all. This card can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls once each, I guess it might come up. It hasn't come up for me, but it's there. It's 2000 attack. I guess it can get over multiple monsters. Um, but yeah, that's it for our level sixes. And then we're gonna get onto the nines, which are probably our most powerful monsters. We have calamities. We have Phantom Fortress. So these are it for our rank nines. This is just such a blowout card. I mean, if you resolve this card and your opponent just passes, or they can barely, like, they can't even attack. That's the thing. So you're gonna keep your resources, and their monster effects can't activate, which is absolutely insane. And then it's a quick effect during either player's turn, obviously. Phantom Fortress I like because it's another card that's a bit more powerful than the removal I mentioned before. So even though this sends, it targets, Coral Dragon targets, even Quarion targets, as well as Vermilion. All these cards target. But I love Phantom Fortress because it does not target. You could detach one and choose one of these effects. You can banish a card from your opponent's hand, from the top of their deck, from the graveyard, or from the field. And it does not target. So it's a great out to Dragoon. It's a great out to any cards that can't be targeted, that that can't be destroyed. So it's really good. I just love having access to this card. Um, there's I want to say that in the extra deck, you could definitely play around with it. It's up to personal preference. There's so many spots, in my opinion, that you can add, like, you can swap out for different cards, like Quarion. You could swap out. The second copy of True King doesn't always come up. I do recommend that you keep the second one, but again, like, for me, it has not come up, the second one. You could choose one of these two. I just like having the utility of either having a tuner or a non-tuner, but you can choose, like, to keep Coral Dragon, or you could choose Stardust. So that's already three cards in the extra deck that you can potentially, like, swap out for other cards if you choose. And then and then we have our only rank 6 is Fan. Fan is really nice because, again, I mentioned before, you detach two, and then you could target one card on the field, one card on your opponent's field, and then one card in either graveyard, banish them. So you could banish your own cards, so you could set the trap up, or you could just, like, remove two cards. Like, for example, you could target a monster on a Thunder Dragon player's field, not obviously not one of their Thunder Dragons that get their effects, but say, like, you could target, like, sometimes they have Appaloosa, sometimes they'll have, like, a generic Link monster, or like Ding Girsu or something like that. You could banish Ding Girsu and then also banish their Thunder Dragon Fusion Engrave, which is really nice. Against, like, Prank Kids, you could banish, like, their pranks. Against even against, like, Dogmatica Invoked, you can banish, like, their on the field and their graveyard, which is really nice. The only thing that sucks is that this has to target a face-up card on the field, which is kind of unfortunate. I wish it could target, like, face downs, like back row, and then banish that. But it's okay. It also floats, so if it gets destroyed by battle or card effect, you can summon two virtual world monsters with the same type and attribute. It can be the same exact monster. Like, it can be two Laulas, it can be two Nyanyans if you want. That float effect is crazy. Like, just it having that effect is amazing. And then for the rank 3s, we have one Break Sword, one Totem Bird, and then one Bamboozling Gossip Shadow. I feel like these cards you should definitely run if you're playing this deck. Bamboozling Shadow is a great monster to go into to prevent yourself from getting Nibiru'd. Like I mentioned before, your Nyanyan and your Lulu are both level 3s, and they're wins, so it's easier to go into Totem Bird. This card today specifically was definitely the MVP because my opponent did not expect me to go into Totem Bird. So, like, against one of my friends, he was playing Prank Kids. He had Pandemonium set, and I went Totem Bird, and now suddenly his Pandemonium's dead because if he activates it, I'll just negate it. And then against one of my other, one of the other players I went up against, he had Punishment set, and as soon as I went into Totem Bird, he knew, like, it was a big mistake not to activate that punishment earlier on, because once I went into Totem Bird, it was, like, too late pretty much because I'll just negate the activation. Break Sword is really good going second because you do bait cards out, pop a card you control. Sometimes, like, when you'll have your Qing Long in your spell and trap zone, you'll target Qing Long, target a card your opponent controls, pop them, and now you have Qing Long in the graveyard to banish and to get your search going. Yep. So guys, that is it for the deck profile. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope I did a good job explaining. Let me show you guys a really quick combo. Just so you guys can see what this deck can do. So we're going to start with Qualoon, and we can start with literally any virtual world that gets their effects. I'm going to start with Yugi. So I'm going to show you what you could do with these two cards. You technically need a random card, so we'll just use this Ash as a random card because you're going to need a card to discard. But so you could call this like a 2.5 card combo. So we're going to start off by activating Qualoon, and we're going to set the trap directly from the deck. You know what? I think let me change this. There we go, so you guys can see better. So we're going to activate the Qualoon directly from the deck. All right, this goes to the graveyard. And then we're going to activate Yugi in hand. We're going to target the Chuchi. We're going to send a spell. So we're going to send Qing Long. Because we target a trap, we can either send a monster or a spell. And then after this resolves, during my end phase, I can add back a monster from my virtual world monster from my graveyard back to my hand, so it helps me manage my resources. We're going to banish the Qing Long, and we're going to add Lulu, because Lulu's going to be our Rhoda. Where are you, Lulu? Okay, and because we added, this is why we have to send a card, because Qing Long says you could add a virtual world monster, then you have to send a card, so we're going to send that random card. We're going to activate Lulu. We're going to target the so you could either target the Chuchi or you can target the Gigi. Depends on what card you want to send. So I want to get a I want to get a monster. I want to search for a monster. So I'm going to target the trap, and we're going to send another Qing Long. And then on resolution, I'm going to search a monster. And here we could either search Lao Lao, or we could search a Yan Yan. I'm going to search a Lao Lao. And then I'm going to activate the Lao Lao. I'm going to target the Gigi. And then I will send the trap, because we want that manipulation. Okay, and unfortunately, in this point in time, I don't have a monster in the graveyard to revive with Lao Lao. And I needed the trap, so that's why I that's why I targeted the monster. Otherwise, I could have targeted the trap, sent a monster. But yeah, so then from here, I'm going to synchro summon. Remember, this is a tuner, and this is also a tuner. So I'm going to synchro summon with these two. We're going to go into a Stardust Charge Warrior. So there's two things we could have done. You could go this route, okay? So a Stardust Charge Warrior is going to allow you to draw a card, and then you're going to banish the trap, target the Lao Lao, make it a 3, and then you could go into your Shen Shen. All right. And then and then during the end phase, you're gonna resolve Gigi's effect to add back the Lulu. Okay, so you drew a card, right? You drew a card, and you have Lulu for next turn. You also sent another Qing Long, so next turn you could search again, and then you have a macro. So anything that leaves the field from the field to the graveyard gets banished, and your trap is also live. So you can shuffle back these two, target a card on the field, and then destroy it, which is really nice. Now, alternatively, so we'll put this back, and then we'll put this back. So we had these three monsters, right? And we had the trap and grave. This is our graveyard. So instead of going to Stardust Charge Warrior, what you could also do is you can link 9, right, into your Shen Shen. And then this is the play I would go for, by the way. I don't value the draw as much as I do this play. So we have a 9 and a 3. So we're going to use a trap. We're going to target our Shenshen, make it a level 6. And then we're going to Synchro Summon into our Cloud Castle. And then on Summon, Cloud Castle is going to revive the Shenshen. And then now we have 2 level 9s. And we're going to summon into Calamities. And then still during the end phase, we'll get the Lulu back because we're going to resolve Gigi's effect. So guys, like off that play, it gives us a much better end board because this will prevent your opponent from activating monster effects with the declared attribute. And it'll also prevent them from attacking. So this will survive. And also another cool thing is that, say like during your opponent's turn, you detach to activate the effect. And then they target this, then they chain Imperm to target this. You can actually chain the Chuchi, and then you could shuffle these two back to the deck, pop your own Calamities, so that way Imperm misses it, and Calamities will fully resolve. So your opponent will still be under Calamities, and they've used up an Imperm. You did use this up, but it's not really too relevant because if you're playing against a combo deck, you value Calamities resolving over, Chuchi. So next turn, again, you have Lulu. You have another Qinglong, right, to search. Obviously, you're going to draw a card for a turn. And then in addition to that, you have Shenshen. So what's cool is that you can banish 2 monsters with different names and attributes. So these 2 cards have different names and attributes. You could banish these 2, summon this, and now this is live again. So after you banished 2 to summon Shenshen back, now your trap is live again because you banished 2 monsters with different names and attributes, and they're both virtual world monsters. And then you could summon this, get a search. It's just extremely good. Then you're going to search with this, and you're going to have something to discard because you drew for turn. So yeah, off those 2 cards, guys, and then like any discard, you end with Calamities, a life trap, and very important that you end with follow-up plays, because if your opponent like happens to establish like some sort of board even after like using Calamities and the trap against them, then you want to be able to have follow-ups. And I think it's so important to make a play and then at the same time not use up all your resources and have resources for next turn. So you're able to like push an OTK or reestablish a board. That's why I love this card, because again, it's just a card that allows you to recycle your graveyard, and then by the end of the combo you'll have Lulu engraved, so you'll just add Lulu, and then Lulu's your Rhoda. So it's actually the most important card to have. It's probably the best starter as well. Guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the deck profile and the little combo that I showed you guys. Please let me know if you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys decide to give this deck a try. It's really fun. I feel like it's very powerful. I feel like it's definitely competitive, and it definitely has a lot of great things going for it. Guys, hope you guys have a great day. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.